boys and girls. This week's interactive read aloud is a story called The Elves and the Shoemakers. It is based on a tale by the Grimm brothers. As I read this story, let's think about the question, what can happen when the elves work together? Once upon a time, there lived two shoemakers, a man and his wife. They worked together in a small shoe shop where they made and repaired shoes. Like others in their neighborhood, the shoemakers were honest and hard-working, but poor. One fall day, the shoemakers had only a few bits and pieces of shoe leather left, and no money to buy other supplies. "I still have hammers and nails, but there is hardly enough leather to make another pair of shoes," said the shoemaker sadly. "And there is no food left for dinner," added his wife. That evening, the shoemakers left the scraps of leather on the work table and went to bed hungry. They would decide what to do tomorrow. The next morning, the shoemakers went into their shop. "Goodness gracious!" they both exclaimed. They could not believe their eyes, for there, next to the needles and the thread, sat a perfect pair of shoes made from the scraps of leather. "What beautiful shoes! Such excellent work!" said the shoemaker. "Who could have done this for us?" His wife took the shoes outside the shop to marvel at them in daylight. Just then one of the king's men walked by. "What beautiful shoes! Such excellent work!" said the king's man. "I must buy them." And he gave the shoemakers a gold coin. With the money, the happy shoemakers were able to invite in their hungry neighbors to a celebration. Off they went to the market to buy food, and with the money they had left, they bought enough leather for 2 pairs of shoes. That night, the neighbors came over for a simple but delicious meal. Later, the shoemakers cut out more leather with large scissors. They left it on the workbench to work on the next day. Then they went to bed. Wow! While the shoemakers slept, 2 tiny elves scurried in. They busily snipped and stitched with strong needles and thick thread. Then they shined their 2 perfect pairs of shoes with a rag. They left the shoes on the workbench, and in a flash they were gone. The next morning, the shoemakers went to their work table. "Goodness!" they cried. There on the workbench sat 2 beautiful pairs of shoes. The shoemakers put the shoes in the shop window. Just then, 2 of the queen's ladies in waiting walked by. "What beautiful shoes! In our opinion, this is the most excellent work we have ever seen. Such precise stitching," they said. The queen's ladies gave the shoemakers 3 gold coins. The grateful shoemakers took the money and bought even more leather. "Who is making such beautiful shoes for us?" the shoemaker wondered as he cut up the leather. "We must find out who is helping us." "Tonight let us stay up and watch," said his wife. That night they did not go to sleep. They hid behind the door of their workshop and waited quietly. There they are. The shoemakers stayed awake watching the shop. At the stroke of midnight, 2 elves in old, worn clothing suddenly appeared. The elves hurried to the workbench, grabbed the pieces of shoe leather, and, in no time at all, made 4 beautiful pairs of shoes. The shoemakers were amazed. "Did you notice the holes in their ragged clothes?" said the wife. "They have done so much for us. Perhaps we can do something for them." The next next day, while the husband sold the 4 new pairs of shoes, his wife made new clothes for the elves. That night, instead of more leather, the shoemakers left the clothes and a note on the work table. The note said, "Dear Elves, thank you for helping us." They signed it, the Shoemakers. At the stroke of midnight, the 2 raggedy elves appeared. They read the note and joyfully put on their new clothes. They danced, sang, and laughed with glee, and then they skipped out the door. The elves never came back, but the grateful shoemakers had enough money to continue making shoes and to live a happy life. The end.